Okay, so we're officially recording now. So this is Sprint S, right? Mm-hmm. Sprint S, October 4, 2019.
And time flies. We got some stuff to demo. Who wants to start with demo?
Should we summarize the sprint first?
Totally.
Okay. So I think the big event was the actual release of Qri Desktop. I guess bisected the sprint a little bit because the first half was just sort of housekeeping and like stuff to get it out, like a landing page, and just last minute like bug fixes and must-have little features that just weren't in there. And then the second half of the sprint was a lot of time spent on getting our meta. Well, outside of the development world, we were getting the meta users up to getting the meta list curated and publishing it a little bit, publicizing it a little bit, and then we're also doing improvements on Qri Cloud, which now need to be good enough and on par with the caliber of Qri Desktop. So I think we come out of this with working first release and rudimentary cloud service that is ready to be vastly improved in the coming months. So
sick.
That's where we are.
Lots of things. Big release, gig fun. Casey, want to take it away?
I do. I'm having trouble getting. All right, whatever. Let me just move business here. Okay, so I'm going to, when it starts up in a second, going to demo a bunch of the desktop improvements, stuff that we got in at the release that we didn't get to like formally demo at our end of sprint demo, and then also some things that we snuck in after the release that will be released in like 0.1.1. Okay, so let me share my screen. Okay, you guys seeing some stuff?
Yeah, cool stuff.
Yep.
Let me minimize everyone's beautiful face so I can actually see what's going on. Okay, so Qri Desktop, yay! Some fun stuff. If we head to, this is sort of like a dummy data set, which is why I like deleted the body I was just doing stuff to it to check stuff out. This little red indicator here shows that there is currently no body. This actually might not be the best one to look at here. Let's see. Let's go to this guy. Yeah. All right. So right now I guess I've made changes to all the different parts of this data set. But let's look at we can edit metadata straight from the app now. So let's say if we want to add a theme, I'm going to go out on a limb here and call it earthquakes.
What's a theme, Casey?
A theme is broad. Well, you can learn that by clicking on or looking at the little information, what do we call them? Tooltips. So it's the main category of the data set. Keywords is supposed to be more specific. So perhaps this would be earthquakes, and then this one may be like earthquakes 2019 or August 2019. You can add licenses, you can add contributors. Contributors are both people maybe who are also on Qri, but don't have to necessarily be part of Qri in order for you to cite them here, where you got the information, download URLs. When you make a change, it saves it to the underlying data, and then when you when you commit the message, it'll save it to that version. So this data set might be really messy, but let's just save a version. Added a theme, and when we submit, commit successful, and then if I go back into history, I can see the change that I made here.
Fantastic.
As opposed to here.
Look at how many times that didn't crash.
Yeah, that's huge.
That is still showing green. Yeah.
That must be a bug.
Yeah.
I don't know. Time to file a bug.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
I think I probably messed that up with I did some refactoring of
live
the way
demo.
that we're doing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so meta editing. Oh, we now have a schema display. So a nice clean way to see what the different, columns are in your schema. You can, right now these only have the title and the type, but you can go into the file if you add a description or any other like JSON schema goodies, they'll show up here. Okay. What else am I looking at?
Do you think you could do one real quick? Because the other tab shows them up in a list, and I think it's good to show that because I think there are mixed feelings about it.
Sorry, say it one more time.
Oh, can you just add some JSON schema to one of these?
Sure. Let's see. I think I'm just sharing
Just that window.
just the window, so I can stop share and come back here. Give me 1 second to get to the correct. Actually, hold on. Let's just share my screen. I'm just gonna share the whole desktop. Because if I want to see where the files are, I can just click show files and it'll bring me to them.
Yeah, amazing.
Where's the let's open this guy up. And all right, so I don't know. Let's add a description.
The description will show up in the description column, and anything else you add will show up in the other column. So I guess you can add another one.
The time of the earthquake. And then I can make it's arbitrary.
Yeah, you do like max length, lowercase, yeah. And then give it a number like 30.
Let's save this. Let's head over here.
Yeah,
Look at that! Let's see, and if I do what, like,
that's great.
if I
This
do
is all JSON schema stuff?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Okay.
Very nice. Very nice.
Added to schema.
Look at that save.
Look at that save. And then if we look at the schema between these two.
Pretty cool. We'll get better at clapping.
Okay, so schema display meta editor. Do we want to look at the add data set modal? What was the specific?
Oh, just it didn't have a place for you to actually specify the assignment files. So I guess you can show that at the same time as showing that we are persisting your data set directory in both models.
Oh yeah, cool. So this is already happening here, but previously when I had added one of these data sets in the cloud, I had indicated I wanted that data set to live when it's on my file system at this directory. So I can, if I do it again, or if I try to create a new data set, Qri will remember that that's the place that I want to save it. Let's take a look at the cloud and see if there's anything that we want to add. Should we add this new data set?
Let's do it.
Okay, so
This was published by one of our beta users.
published by one of our beta users. So Qri is going to create a new directory and is going to create a new folder inside this folder path. So let's add those files.
Work.
Oh, it's so fun.
Look at that.
Look how real
Okay,
that
cool.
is.
So we might need to file this as a bug, but
Yeah.
it looks like it's not actually, didn't actually end up
If
getting
you
worked.
reload it, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
File a bug. You can reload with Command R if you
Oh,
need
yes. So yeah, it seems like maybe maybe there's some misconnection there, but
That's
that'll be a
fine.
new.
We'll figure it
We'll fix that too. Okay, so export. Yeah.
to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me go back to my census demographics table because I know I have multiple versions of this. Right. Okay. If you right click on so this is our history page. These guys over here in this column are the different versions. If I want to export a specific version, I can right click export this version, and then I can choose a specific folder that I want the export to be in. You can put it in downloads. I actually made a exports folder just for this occasion. Export that version. And then if I go to, let's see, if I go to exports here, see you have this nice zip of that specific version that gives me, well, was this gonna actually do anything?
We'll try and show
Whatever.
you CSV file.
The specific version and time, and yeah, so if
Travel through time.
travel through time with Qri. I can export the same version. I'm going to export a different version of the same data set.
So that remembered your export path also?
Yeah.
Which is pretty fast.
So
That's
export
great.
this version, and again, if I go to exports, oh, I think I exported it twice.
Yeah,
It just
it's
happens.
just so good.
It just happens so fast.
That's great.
Cool.
This one has a viz
Mm-hmm.
and not our normal FSI link, and not our default, not our
Yeah, this
FSI link primitive.
the export spec predates FSI.
Yeah.
So it used a different file name for the reference. Those could be unified, they probably should be.
That'd be dope.
Cool.
It also would be neat if the dialog could show the path name of the zip it's going to export to.
Yeah.
Which would require calculating the timestamp when the dialog is open and using that.
We can totally
You could do that.
dial in on all of those things.
I mean, export, you can give it the explicit path to
Yeah.
export to. So
Yeah,
there's
Front end's already
timestamp.
got that info.
A question I have about that. So you said that the export timestamp, that is the timestamp of when you have downloaded it,
No, it's
or
the commit
it's the
timestamp.
commit
It's the commit.
timestamp, right? Oh, so we could just derive that,
Exactly.
using the same methods. That's great.
So that way, if you export the same thing twice, it'll have the same file name, so you know it's the same thing.
Here at Qri, we both demo software and build software at the same time.
My other question was, sorry, felt like I should have gotten some indication that it
Yeah.
downloaded. Previously, when I was working on this, I was sending it to the download folder, which like bounces.
Yeah.
It should be butter just in the desktop where it pops up.
Yeah.
Export successfully.
Yeah.
And you commit.
You mean just toast?
Toast, sorry.
Butter toast.
Butter's a different thing. Butter's when it's yellow.
Oh, this is amazing.
Focus, it's green.
Sick. Sick.
Cool.
It works.
I just had a little bit of trouble getting the end-to-end tests running. I'm not really sure why.
Do we want to talk about what end-to-end tests are supposed to support and fix and change?
Sure. So our end-to-end tests actually open up the app. They give us not only do they test specific things like, hey, okay, the overall thing is happy paths. We want to make sure that the things that we feel like most people are going to be using are never broken. And part of what's fun about the way we set up our end-to-end tests is it pops up, opens up Electron, and you can actually watch as the tests go by, like the clicking certain things. So even if there's no like bugs that happen, like clicking the button does has the right action occurring, we can also catch like visual bugs. Let's see if this will. Oh, I don't know. I think it's good.
Let's see what happens. We'll demo it live. If it doesn't work, it's okay.
No, yeah, it failed.
We can hang out on this.
Yeah.
But you can try this at home. If
Yeah.
you want to download our desktop code, this will run on your own machine, which is fun. And we'll include instructions for running EDU tests.
Like I'm forgetting to do something, and that's why it's not working. But okay, so yeah, those are a bunch of the desktops things. I'm going to pass it to Chris.
All right.
Woo!
How do I share? Sure. All right. So, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
So, Brendan put together this mock-up.
Yeah.
Blog party.
Very good mock-up of what our splash page should be. If you recall, Qri.cloud looks like this right now. So we made a bunch of changes based on this mock-up that aren't deployed yet, but even if you land on query.cloud, there's just nothing welcoming you. It's just kind of a list of every data set we know about, maxed out at a certain size or whatever. Maybe not even. Anyway, so, oh, okay, so here's so this is cool. We've got a nice little search bar, which is actually working, which I'll show you in a moment here. Looks good on mobile.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that responsiveness.
So we've got featured data set, 4 featured data sets. So this isn't actually, coming from the back end. This is just the first 4 that would have otherwise been on the list for now.
Great.
We're still in development mode, but we have to figure out how to decide where we're going to store what the featured data sets are.
Yeah.
Then we've got this recently published list, which is actually not accurate. It's just the same list that's currently on the Query Cloud right now, but we'll be, in order of recently published, you'll be able to come through and click one of these guys. And then over here, we've got an area for promoting Query Desktop or anything else we want to put. So that's the layout is mostly there. It needs a little bit more work.
It's looking great.
But if I click on one of these, like Ramfox US Census.
Oh, it clicks. You can click.
You can click. This is what the download pages look like now. So some simple style improvements, like these theme items are all in green and the keywords are all in their little
Tag
like tag badge thing.
Mhm.
It's all in Bootstrap, so it's kind of following some of those patterns, but all kind of doing
looks
good.
good.
You can see we got the gray header here.
Oh, nice, unified.
So if I sign in,
I'm a fan of the gray header.
Yeah, it's calm.
so one more thing I'll demo here is this little blob.
Blobby!
So we now have a user. But what we've done is we've added 7 default blobs. So on user creation, we'll get. Sorry, if you sign up, you'll get a new blob. Actually, let's try it because I'm running locally here, so I'm not creating new accounts. So let's sign up. Ooh. And we're gonna say foo@bar.com. Might actually already be in my local database. Foo bar and hello. I accept. Ooh. Okay. So. Okay, didn't work. That's annoying. Let's go back here and sign into me. I don't know why that didn't work. Okay, so if I go to my profile, actually, this is worth demoing now. So
look
at
this.
user images are in there, and you can set your settings. So let's say I want to change, there's that Finger Data Junkie, and I work at Query. I hit save. Then I go back. And I reload. Okay. Did I not?
Did you not remove the image?
No, I wasn't trying to do the image.
Oh, you're trying to do this thing.
Oh, no, okay.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's not persisting. And then let's remove the photo and hit save. And then it brings me back the photo. Actually, I think there's something else going on here. It's the same one.
So it's not right.
So anyway.
It looks good.
When we push it, it'll do all the cool
We'll do
stuff.
all the right stuff.
Yeah. So we've got the default photos in here now, and then you can change your photo. Should check this out for a demo because it was working this week. But
Oh,
anyway,
that's great.
I get the idea.
Look at all this
Yeah,
good
it's
stuff.
awesome.
Can you search on the homepage?
Sure can.
Oh, man.
Too fancy.
Earthquakes.
Oh, look
So
at
many
that.
people
Sure.
care about earthquakes.
Noon.
Oh, the infamous noon.
And let's see, wine. But there's no more white wine quality.
Hey, but at least that didn't explode anything.
I feel like this needs another search box at the
I
top.
think you might be right.
Ooh,
I
good
think
call.
I think we're onto something there. Data.
You're at Query, we both
Six
searching for
data
data.
sets. 6 data sets matching data. Betamax. Who's Betamax?
That's my alter ego.
Okay.
Now that
It is.
search is a thing, it feels like this gray bar just needs to, when you're not on the home
Needs
page,
to have
needs to
search.
just have
Oh,
a
right.
search
We
bar,
talked
right?
about that.
Oh, okay.
So, anyway, this one's not quite shipped yet, so.
That's looking
Coming
great.
soon, yeah.
Into it.
Next, search.
Yeah, we did search, we did front end design, we did, I think that's everything. There's a profile.
Download page, desktop download page.
Yeah, let's show that.
Oh, yeah.
You want to do that?
Well, you should do that. You got it up.
Cool. Okay. So if you go to
No, the share stuff.
It looks like it did.
let's do it again. Sure. Okay, so we wanted a nice landing page for if you search for Qri Desktop, and actually there used to be query.io/download, which was how you downloaded the old front end app, and now that is set to redirect to /desktop, which looks like this.
Oh, it's so much prettier.
Ooh.
So
Ah.
yeah, nice simple layout with a screenshot, big fat download buttons, and these will swap out if you load on Windows. It'll show you the Windows button and then a link for Mac. We've got some introductory text on what this thing does. Things like we don't no more file name versioning and showing you what a commit message looks like. We've got check out our one-click publishing with Qri Cloud, which now this needs to be changed because Qri Cloud's going to look different.
Good call.
And then link to our GitHub, etc. And then we also have up here this thing called the Getting Started Guide, which is really just designed to be like a complete beginners. What is Qri all about? Here's the flow through desktop. So download and sign up. Create a new data set, assuming you have a file-based data set on your computer. Add some metadata to it once you've imported it into Qri, and then make a first commit, and then publish. So the idea is that the user can just kind of peruse this and not be starting completely from scratch when they fire up Qri Desktop for the first time. Haven't gotten any real feedback on it yet, unless anyone sends. But
My first piece of feedback is 2 weeks ago, you couldn't edit metadata in the app. And now we have a tutorial published to the internet. So I'm feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah.
this looks great. Look at this.
Yeah, let's go.
The getting started link in your left is a little squished.
Oh.
On mobile.
Oh, that's right, because we. Oh yeah.
Oh, sugar.
Yeah.
Good call.
Oh, sugar.
Yeah, this needs to.
Well, that's a good issue.
Things we're learning. That's great.
File it.
File it on the whiteboard.
Okay.
The permanent whiteboard. So, cool. I think last but not least,
Yeah.
our
Logbook.
logbook stuff.
Logbook, let's go.
Okay, so that's me. So this is very much a work in progress, but I wanted to demo some forthcoming low-level stuff that's going to let us do new things moving forward. So in the coming months, we're going to ship a bunch of stuff around collaboration. So this is sort of the new frontier for Qri, right? We now have a really firm foundation for creating version histories of stuff. We can make really long commit lengths, which is great. Now we need to deal with the issue of starting to deal with multiple people working on the same history, starting to get into what Git calls branching, some other stuff. And to do that properly, we have to be able to have a method for synchronizing each other's actions. And that's actually a lot harder than it sounds. Doing that properly.
It's pretty hard.
Yeah.
And so today I'm just going to really quickly demo some of the underlying stuff that we've been working on around something that we're calling the logbook. The logbook is effectively just a record of what all of the collaborators on a data set have done. And so if everybody in this room are collaborating on the same data set, we could all be working under the same name. But by recording, we want to just start with this foundation of recording the actions that everybody has taken. So if I make 5 versions of a data set and then delete 2 and then publish 1, we kind of need a sort of ground truth to work with to understand how that works. So just to give a quick demo of how that looks and feels, I shouldn't do that. I'm going to make this big, and I'm going to say, so I have a very Qri config get profile. I'm using our command line app to show this. So I'm a user called Razzle, and I have this ID right now. If I do query list, I currently only have 1 data set. It's called food. And so we still have this classic query log, which lets us see a history of data sets, right? And so in this case, this data set has 3 commits. But we also have this, so the new thing that we're introducing is this notion of, this is a plumbing command that you wouldn't interact with normally, but this is sort of showing some foundations that we're working on. So I'm going to type query logbook this time, and this is going to show something new. And so what this is actually a causal order of all the actions it took to create that history. And so under the hood, this is a very carefully composed series of events that are all attributed to a specific author. So you can see in the left here, we've got a list of 7 sort of events. The oldest one in history is init, and that actually initialized the namespace. And so Razzle/foo now has a much more meaningful thing behind it. This is sort of the whole history of actions taken around this data set. And each action is attributed to an author. So you can see we have the timestamp, which is, I intentionally sort of showed some like off timestamps, 1969, back 5 hours for anybody who's into programming, that's second since 1970. And so that's showing like what we're seeing here is actually a causally ordered list of actions. So it's not actually dependent on the timestamp, it's dependent on this happened and then this happened and this happened. This is an example of an append-only log. And so the logbook is something that everyone only ever writes to. So if we look at number 2 in this list, we have an example of a remove, where what actually happened is to create this, so we just for comparison, there are 3 versions here. But if I look at the logbook, we can actually see that I have actually created created data set, saved 1, 2, 3, 4, actually saved 4 versions, then I removed ones, that took me down to 3, and then I saved again. And so you can actually see the series of steps that took us to creating this thing. This will also record a whole bunch of other events like publication, and so where did I publish something, who did I publish to? Renaming of a data set, so if I change the name of the data set, it will actually be recorded as an action as well. And so when another user sort of syncs their logbook with your logbook, that's how we can start to reconcile histories of collaboration. So now everybody can sort of do stuff and it's recorded and attributed to them. And it's written down in a way that we can always reconcile what everybody did, and we can figure out how to get into a state of happiness.
So this lives like locally.
Yes, yeah. So everyone's logbook lives locally, and so your logbook contains both a record of everything you've done, but you can also pull in records from other people. And so you do synchronization tasks where if Dustin and I are collaborating on a data set, Dustin takes a whole bunch of actions. He will then send me his logbook entries, just the stuff that is pertinent. And again, Dustin's only ever going to append to that log. He'll never delete from that entry. And so that gives me a whole bunch of nice primitives for syncing up. We can actually just to get a feel for like how complicated this gets, even that sort of 7 entry thing, if we look at the actual raw information here, we have a pretty serious, this actually kind of reminisces of blockchain a little bit in the way that it functions. There is a causal history here connected to a series of references. We have a sort of like a modeling technique and 3 types of actions that can be happening: init, amend, and remove. And so we have lots and lots, and then we have this sort of like notional timestamp note, and there's a size in here as well, I think somewhere. So we can get into the details of how this works later, but what's exciting is this is sort of sets the stage for the future, which is sort of like collaboration. This is sort of our first foundation for collaboration techniques.
Cool.
I want to show that.
That's great. So I mean, the idea, if we can like dream of what this actually looks like in desktop UI, is that like equivalent to just going on to Google Doc and being like share?
Yeah, and so like I don't even think it's like an action; it'll just happen naturally under the hood, and so you'll just see, oh, there are 5 commits that I don't have because it's under the hood. We can sync the logbooks. Maybe connect that to like a sync button.
So if I add a data set from another user, I get the logbook for that, and I can see that there were versions for it, but they're not necessarily on my machine.
Exactly. So your logbook is intentionally designed to be incredibly small, and it doesn't contain any of the actual principal data. And so what you do is you get that, hey, this is the journal of that data set. And now I know, without going out to the internet, without fetching any data, I know what it looks like, what that history looks like.
It's also technically gossip, right? Because you can't verify that any of it is real. Like someone could spoof a logbook.
So no, all logbook logs are attributed to an author, and an author is a hash of a key pair. And the only logs that you will accept are signed by that key pair. And your signature actually rides with the log.
Okay.
So nobody can spoof it because you
yeah, the author would have to spoof it.
Yeah, but then
it wouldn't work with their own data.
Yeah, exactly. Why would you spoof yourself?
So if I publish a query data set, the logbook goes with it.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
And then
So remotes will sync logbooks.
yes.
Is this handling the problem of I add someone else's data set and then make a change on top of it?
Yeah.
And then does that modify that logbook, or does it make a new one?
So that'll be a fork action, and we'll get more explicit about forks in the future. But the nice thing is logbooks can show that forking and show that you initialized the data set from another data set.
So we're not handling the hard part. Well,
Yeah.
we're not handling that next hard part yet.
Yeah. So
The
then
next hard
this is the
Handle the
tool
one
that lets
less
us
hard.
handle the hard thing. But it also, to do this properly, this is actually the foundation of branching. We can do branching, and this also is a foundation for access control. Because the entire logbook is encrypted at rest, and so you can't actually get into the logbook. And we can also set permissions around what logs you will both accept and give out. And saying, I will only transmit this logbook to somebody who is on the access control list. That access control list is also part of the logbook, so changes to the ACL are part of that sort of log entry.
So sorry, just one more question. All right, so I publish, my logbook goes, I can continue making more changes, but the published version, represents some point in history.
Yeah.
Okay, and then someone else pulls that down and they have all that history, and then I can push new stuff up, and then they will know, wait, there's stuff on remote that I don't have.
Exactly.
Is there communication going on between these two peers at all?
Yeah, so logbooks can move both between peers across the registry. So it's all planned at the remote level. And so the registry is just a remote in this context. And so when you publish to a remote or when you publish to the registry, it'll do the same thing. And because you only ever append to your log, you know that when you have this out of date, right, and you push to somebody and then you kept going, so you make new stuff. When you sync again, you can eventually write speedups that say, I already have entries 1 through 250 of this logbook. Please only give me things from 250 forward.
Okay. Are you saying basically another query peer can also be a remote from my machine?
100%.
And that's something we would have to. I'm thinking of like eventually what the UIs for these are begin to be like. So that's cool. So I should be able to be like, I guess I should, if I choose to have Dustin's state of his query local, his query node, that should be represented somewhere as a special thing.
Yeah.
In
UI.
Probably,
Yeah. And I think this gets to the conversations we've been having around following a data set. The way you would follow a data set is sync the log and then be set to automatically ingest all versions or automatically ingest the latest and delete the oldest.
Relatedly, how does it interact with update?
So there is a thing for update, and so it actually says we ran a cron job. This is the results. It records the time that it happened. If we ever wanted to later, we can start hashing the actual log entries themselves and adding those FFS and referencing that from the log. Just if you wanted to keep the console output, which might be necessary for archival purposes.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, lots and lots. This is the foundation of a whole bunch of stuff. To reference some academia, this is all structured as a conflict-free replicated data type. This is specifically an operation-based CRPT. I'm really excited about. I think we're a really good use case for it. We're also using flat buffers under the hood, which is giving us any repeated references to data or the same data are compressed. And so the next thing I want to do with this is actually write some benchmarks, both around the time it takes to do this stuff and how big we can sort of make these things. So how many log entries before you hit a megabyte of logbook data. So I think it'll be fun.
Awesome.
Neat.
Super fun.
And I mean, you can also just start a new log from nothing if you think it's stupid, right?
No, you can't.
Sorry, I meant it won't have the same history, but if that becomes a problem before, you can always just
Do a rebase and squash.
I'm just gonna start
eventually.
Yeah. Okay.
But it has the blockchain problem that you
It
can't have it both ways.
Yeah, and so there's some research into tail compaction. I think because we're not actually a blockchain, we can do some tail compaction work, but because we chose op-based, that is much harder because we don't actually record the state.
I mean, we're not going to hit that problem for a long time. Plus, we don't have the transactional volume that blockchain does, right? We're not purposely producing lots of junk for proof of work.
Yes.
So,
yeah. Very little proof of work here. This is order of magnitude more efficient. But yeah, cool. Neat. But I think the big news we want to stay focused on is we put out a beta. So if you're watching this and you want to join our beta, join our beta. Qri.io/beta.
BETA.
That's how you spell beta. Can I say beta again? Okay.
don't try going to the Greek letter.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Don't type that into a URL. That's not going to work. Cool. All right. Thank you, everybody. Wonderful end of Sprint S.
Yay.
See you all in what comes after S. See you all in Sprint T.
Sprinty.
Pretty.